Okay, now we're going to talk briefly about passive and active bond management. Um, basically, basically, passive and active bond management. There's the difference is passive bond management assumes that prices are accurate. Active assumes that there are inaccuracies in bond prices, and you can take advantage of that. So, passive bond management uses what's called cash flow matching and dedication. Cash flow matching is simply matching cash flows from a fixed income portfolio with those of the obligation. That's exactly what we were doing in the slides that we walked through in the previous section. Dedication strategy simply is a multi-period cash flow matching. Uh, yeah, a pension fund would engage in a dedication strategy. They would likely invest in a laddered portfolio with all a laddered portfolio is they're going to invest in many different maturities, and they're going to attempt to meet their obligations through the cash flows that result from those multiple securities over some time period that they've chosen. Um, convexity. Um, convexity is simply the curvature of the price yield relationship of the bond. Um, the We can accurately predict the change in price uh, by using duration, the change in yield, and uh, half of the convexity multiplied by the change in yield squared. We're not going to do any of these calculations this semester, but um, the idea is that adding the convexity back to the equation allows us to mimic the change in bond price, so we can accurately predict it. So, so now, why do investors like convexity? The more convexity, the greater price increases, and the smaller price decreases when interest rates fluctuate by larger amounts. And we're going to see this on the next slide here. So, so the the lighter blue line is duration, and the curved line is the actual change in price for a bond. And then we have the percentage change on the y-axis and the change in yield on the x-axis. We start out at 0 here, so we can see that duration understates the price change when yields fall, and it overstates the price change when yields go up. So again, the reason for that duration is a linear approximation that takes the convexity out of the bond price calculation. So active bond management. So again, active bond management assumes that there are price inefficiencies, and we can benefit from those. Again, passive bond management assumes that pricing is accurate, and there's not a way to benefit from. So that there are we have 6 different strategies for our active bond management. The substitution swap, if we can exchange one bond, exchange a bond for another bond with similar attributes, but at a better price. So think of probably not a terribly good example, but a exchanging, assuming we're indifferent between an Apple bond and a Microsoft bond. If we're indifferent between those bonds, and we can buy the Microsoft bond for less than we can buy or a higher yield than we can buy the Apple bond, then that's how a substitution swap would work. Intermarket, simply switching from one segment of the bond market to another. Um, Rate anticipation swap is simply a switch made in response to forecast for interest rate changes. And a pure yield pickup swap just is moving to higher yielding bonds, moving out the yield curve. Uh, Tax swap, swapping bonds to receive some sort of tax benefit. And then horizon analysis is forecasts of bond returns based on the prediction of the yield curve at the end of the investment horizon. And then to conclude the chapter, so fixed income strategy, the key features, firms respect market prices. To have value, information cannot already be reflected in prices. Finally, as we know, interest rate movements are extremely hard to predict.